If you are applying to the Tuck MBA program, then you have come to the right place. In this video, I'm going to give you a detailed analysis of how to tackle the Tuck MBA application essays. Stay with me till the end of this video and I'm sure all your questions about the Tuck MBA application will get answered. If you're looking at applying to a B school this year, make sure that you subscribe to our channel and also hit the bell icon so that ways you get notified each time we release a new essay analysis. And this year we are going to actually cover all the top 30 schools in the world, so make sure that you keep watching. So in case you're wondering, well, is an MBA right for me? Is my GMAT score high enough? Should I be even applying to a school like Tuck? We have worked with a lot of students in the past who have gotten into Tuck, and we can give you our advice, our suggestion. Please go ahead and fill out your profile. We will have a profile evaluation. We'll have a report generated. We'll have an expert come talk to you, help answer your queries. Now let's look at the program, the Tuck MBA. Right? The first thing is it's at Dartmouth, and that happens to be an Ivy League school, right? So it has a lot of credential, brand value in terms of being an Ivy League. Usually in the top 10 programs in the US, correct? So it does have a lot of brand equity. It may not be a Harvard or a Stanford, and there are some reasons for it, some conscious reasons for it, and I'll basically talk about that. But really that's where it stands in terms of rankings, correct? Now, one thing about the school that you will see in its website, when you talk to admission committee members, when you look at their YouTube channel, when you talk to alumni, is just the sense of community that you have at Tuck. So at Tuck, it's a very big deal, right, that you are invested, right, in the Tuck community. You understand their culture, right? And one thing that I've heard from a lot of students who have gone to Tuck is the alumni, right, is just fantastic. I had one student tell me that he actually mailed 10 of his alumni, right, asking for a specific favor, and he said 9 of them replied. And the one person who did not replied 2 weeks later, apologizing, saying, hey, I was out on vacation, hence, a delay in the response. So you can see that if it's not the question of numbers, right, but it's really the depth of the connection that makes Tuck very different. Now, there is another thing that you need to know. Tuck does not have a doctoral program in management, which means that all the professors are completely free and their focus is on the MBA students. They don't have PhD students doing their doctorate, so they don't kind of bifurcate that time, right? So all the time is spent on the MBA students. So that, I guess, is good news, right? The third thing about Tuck is Tuck places a lot of emphasis on leadership. If you look at their website, they talk about the Center for Leadership, right? So leadership, entrepreneurship, big themes in Tuck, because what they believe is we are really developing this person over the next 2 years who can potentially create an impact over the next 20 years. So we don't have a control on his life over the next 20 years, but let's see if he can change his thinking, change who he is, correct? And that's another focus on Tuck. One thing that I can tell you even before getting into the essay analysis, which is, and again I've heard it from students, that you can write on blood that I kind of swear by the Tuck philosophy. Once you go into Tuck, that is the strength of the Tuck network. So it's very important that you start your analysis right now. Go to LinkedIn, try to reach out to alums, go to their website, read up about them, try to attend info sessions, try to know more about the program, right? I think especially for Tuck, I can't underscore this anymore. We have 3 essay questions this year for Tuck, each one of them 300 words, right? So let's look at the first essay. It says, Tuck students can articulate how the distinctive Tuck MBA will advance their aspirations. Why are you pursuing an MBA and why Tuck? So if you look at it, there is really, 3 questions over here, correct? So the first question is, why are you pursuing an MBA? And you can't really answer this without talking about what has been your journey so far, correct? So there is another implied question, which is, what is it that you've been doing so far? Next, why an MBA? And third, why Tuck? So what I would do is, if you look at it, there is really no other space, no other essay which is really talking about your post-MBA career growth or career path. So I would probably start with that. I would probably say that, my background, right? Given my experience, in this, at this juncture in my career. So give a quick synopsis of your background, correct? And I'd say at this juncture in your career, what is it that excites you, right? What is it that you want to do? And again, you need to be specific, but at the same time, you could also be slightly, looking at a larger canvas, looking at the larger impact that you're going to create, right? What is that impact? What is the mark you're going to leave behind, correct? So that's the first thing that you need to address, right? Again, I would say, if possible, talk about the industry, talk about the role, talk about your dream companies, do all of that. Right? If you don't do this part, you can't really talk about why MBA or why Tuck. Why MBA? Well, now you need to tell what are the things that you feel currently you do not possess that an MBA would give you. And my suggestion is to actually talk about why Tuck in the same breath. There are two options that people have. They talk about why MBA and then they talk about why Tuck, correct? But instead of that, what we could do is we could talk about why MBA and why Tuck in the same paragraph, correct? So tell me, what is it that you would like to know? Maybe you want to know more about other functions. Maybe your education and experience has not prepared you. You might have a unidimensional look of a business. How do you go to get this multidimensional look, right? Second, it could be about, the very fact that you're going to be surrounded by people and you hope that these are people with whom by interaction you are going to change as a person. And I've said this earlier, if you're doing an MBA, it is to create a version 2.0 of yourself, correct? If that is the case, well, why would you change, or why is it that you need to change? And the third, really, let's be honest, the brand and the network that is going to last for many years is a huge reason for you to do an MBA. Now comes the important part. Why Tuck? A mistake that most people do when they write this essay is they just go to the Tuck website, they'll pick one particular thing and they will just say, Tuck is famous for this. Therefore, I like, Tuck. And therefore, I want to do an MBA from Tuck. Don't do that. Don't tell the schools stuff that they already know, right? Instead of that, talk about what is that aha moment, just tell them something that is very natural. Say that, something that attracts you to the smaller class size, maybe something that attracts you to the group learning environment, something that attracts you to certain rituals that they follow. What is it that honestly has attracted you, right? I don't think, you should be creating an answer, concocting an answer. Be genuine, be honest, ask yourself what are those points and tell, this is the point I liked, and here is the important thing. This will help me become a better something, right? Which is the reason you want to do an MBA in the first place, right? You want to create a version 2.0 of yourself. How will Tuck specifically add in the creation of the version 2.0? Now you have 300 words. The way I would split, 100 words, background, what you want to do post MBA. I think that is very important. So 100 words for that. And then I would spend 200 words specifically talking about what is it that I hope that my future journey would entail. What is it that I'm going to get from an MBA program, specifically from the Tuck MBA, correct? So you have to keep three things together. What is it that I hope to get? What will an MBA give me? What will Tuck specifically give me? If you're able to kind of put all of these three things together and give me like 3 points, that would be enough for the next 200 words. That's how I would construct the 300 words. Important, have a good start, have a good ending. The second essay, again for about 300 words, is Tuck students recognize how their individuality adds to the fabric of Tuck. Tell us who you are. I think again, if you see, going back to what I said about Tuck, very interested to know who you are, what you do, and more importantly, how would you contribute to the Tuck program. So I would encourage that you go to the Tuck website. There is a mission, vision, strategy statement. Again, we'll be giving the link below, so have a look at it. That will give you a sense of what is it that they are looking for in students. So make sure that you do that. And don't try to retrofit who you are into those statements, but just keep that in the back, of your mind when you're writing this essay, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably pick the first part, which is who am I, correct? Try to use, maybe since you have 300 words, you can maybe pick 2 adjectives, right? So tell me 2 adjectives. Tell me who you are. Are you this big picture strategic guy who likes to, have these plans? Or are you the person who rolls up his or her sleeves and get things done, right? Are you the, executioner? Or are you the person who works very well with a team? And are you a person who who believes that the sum is greater than the whole, right? Who are you? So I really need to know who you are. So first, pick the adjectives. I think if you don't pick the adjectives, starting to write this essay is going to be very tough. So first, pick the adjectives. Tell me why that adjective, right? So maybe it is your background, maybe you're hardwired, maybe something in your childhood, something interesting, right? That tells me why you are who you are. And I would probably also, immediately also talk about what I can contribute to the Tuck community, correct? So make sure you kind of also add that. So you're not just telling me who you are, but you're also telling me how you can contribute to the Tuck program. If you realize, the earlier essay was how Tuck can add to you, but this essay is really about how you add to Tuck. Now you have 300 words for this essay. As I said, 2 adjectives, 150 words, 150 words. So with 150 words, you don't have a lot of space to really explore a story. Or maybe give in detail how you're going to contribute. But I would suggest being judicious about both, because you need to talk about that adjective, why is that adjective true for you, and also how you can contribute. So that's a lot in 150 words, right? So try to pick 2 stories, 150 words each. That's how I would draft this particular essay. The third essay, also for 300 words, reads, Tuck students invest generously in one another's success, even when it is not convenient or easy. Share an example of how you helped someone else succeed. I'll again go back to what I said about the community spirit at Tuck, and you clearly see that in the essays, they are very focused on what they want in a person. So the questions are also kind of validating that. The first thing that I would say for this essay is, remember, they are saying even when it is not convenient or easy. So don't try to pick an example where you did something where you're, let's say, expected to do, right? Like in my company, I helped, the freshers who came in, and I just had a chat with them on how to, do better at work. I'm looking at something that is a little more deeper, correct? A little more deeper in terms of how you really went out of your way to help. They are looking at that sense of compassion, the sense of empathy in people, correct? So what are the various ways in which you can help? A, you could have helped someone who you know personally. It could be a relative, it could be a friend, it could be, let's say, a junior at work, right? It could be anyone, right? But maybe you are the mentor here. Maybe you gave a career advice. Maybe they were really caught in something. It also has to be more than advice, right? It is something that you did. So it cannot be like, oh, I took him out for coffee and I gave him advice, right? So how did you help? How did you actually, invest your time, money, energy in doing that thing, correct? So that's the first thing. Someone that you know very closely. Second, maybe you didn't know that person closely, correct? Maybe it was through an NGO. In the US, you have the Big Brother program. In India, there are a lot of other initiatives. Is it someone that you did not know, but you still went out of your way encouraging that person? correct? And again over here, it could even be a personal thing, it may not be an NGO. For example, if you helped your maid's son or daughter, correct? Even that counts. You may not know them very well, but you kind of went out of your way to help them. The third is I would try to keep it, professional, right? It's perfectly okay if you're not able to get personal stories. You can get a professional story. Maybe you helped your boss, maybe you helped your colleague, maybe you helped things in a project, in which case I don't want it to be the professional. You can't just say I worked on weekends, right? I worked 5 days a week, then I came on weekends to kind of bail out a friend, right? It has to be something deeper. Maybe there was an emotional problem that someone was going through. Maybe there was something else that they needed, some difficult decisions that you had to make. I would like to understand the person behind the story, right? So once you have mentioned what the story is, once you have told me, how you, so it's like share an example of how you helped someone else succeed. So what is the backdrop? Again, you can use the START framework. What is the backdrop? What is the situation? What is the task? What is it that you ended up committing to? What did you end up actually doing? What is the action that you did? What was the result of it? And what did you learn from it? What did you genuinely realize by helping someone, right? Did it change your perspective? In case it did, please go ahead and write that, right? Try to humanize all these essays. Tuck is really looking at that human element. So any language that looks like consultant speak, right, is to be avoided, correct? So make sure that you kind of write this. 300 words might take, if it's a START framework, probably you're going to spend 50 words in each of the, so START. So if you're going to spend 50 words in each, it probably is 250 words. And then you have 50 words for the starting and the ending, correct? So you can have a strong starting and then you can have something to close out the essay. So that's what I have for the 4 schools or the 4 essays at Tuck this year. There is also an optional essay, and my take for the optional essay is, and same thing that they read over here, I'm just going to read out. It says, please provide any additional insight or information that you have not addressed elsewhere. Example, a typical choice of evaluators, factors affecting academic performance. Like for example, if you have dropped a year in college, or like at work, if you have a layoff, there is a hole in your resume, correct? Anything that you think is inexplicable, right? I have had students use the optional essays. One of my students scored a 760 on the GMAT, but he ended up scoring 1 in IR, correct? You have to explain why he scored 1 in IR, right? So he had to mention that. So those are the kind of things that you could use. One other case that I've seen in some students, what they have done is they have just gone ahead and written another story, correct? Strongly recommend against it, correct? Because they are saying, look, I already given you 3 essays, right? This is to just explain any gaps. Don't try to force fit just because you have extra words to write another story. So definitely don't do that. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please go ahead and let us know in the comments below. And please keep watching. As I said, we are going to bring out a lot of other essay analysis as well. So thanks so much for watching this video.